Climate Change. Part 2. What a circus. What a show. Today we will look at a long-forgotten hero. A true scientist, who observed, experimented, and tested his calculations and came to conclusions. It is very surprising that the Irish scientist John Tyndall, born 200 years ago on August 2, 1820, is not better known. But then maybe, those with a sinister view are keeping his findings quiet. Tyndall was born into a poor Protestant Irish family. After a thorough basic education he worked as a surveyor in Ireland and England. Tyndall spent his savings on gaining a PhD from the University of Marburg, Germany 1850. Then struggled to find employment. Walking in the Alps, Tyndall observed the low temperatures in the mountains which he found strange because of the strength of the sun and the continuing existence of glaciers. This led him to research the part played by water vapor and other gases in absorbing and transmitting heat. Such studies had been undertaken previously for solids and liquids, but not for gases, from which Tyndall concluded that the effect was probably small. During 1860 and 1861 Tyndall developed an experimental arrangement in the basement laboratory of the Royal Institution to measure heat transfer and absorption through gases. He found that the main constituents of the atmosphere, nitrogen and oxygen, were almost entirely transparent to heat. However, and somewhat to his surprise, he observed that the smaller components of the atmosphere, for example, water vapor and carbon dioxide, absorbed more than 80% of the radiation passed through them. Tyndall explained this finding, as he sought to explain all natural phenomena, in terms of molecules. In this case, compounds could vibrate in more ways than individual atoms. Tyndall quickly recognized that although the quantity of gases such as carbon dioxide in the atmosphere was an insignificant amount, because of their very powerful absorptive properties, they exercised a disproportionate effect on the absorptive power of the atmosphere as a whole. Looking at the single atoms, for every 200 of oxygen and nitrogen, there is about 1 of aqueous vapor. This 1, then, is 80 times more powerful than the 200, and hence, comparing a single atom of oxygen or nitrogen with a single atom of aqueous vapor, we may infer that the action of the latter is 16,000 times that of the former. John Tyndall's famous quote should be written on stone. It should be memorized by every climate alarmist. In 1860 he wrote, "This aqueous vapor is a blanket more necessary to the vegetable life of England than clothing is to man. Remove for a single summer night the aqueous vapor from the air which overspreads this country, and you would assuredly destroy every plant capable of being destroyed by a freezing temperature. The warmth of our fields and gardens would pour itself unrequited into space, and the sun would rise upon an island held fast in the iron grip of frost." In fact, what he is saying is that if you removed all water vapor from the atmosphere, by the next day our planet would be a frozen ball of ice. The temperature of the whole Earth would be -10 degrees. So it is water vapor that warms our world. It is not carbon dioxide. CO2 is just plant food. 650 million years ago, when CO2 was at 20% of the total atmosphere, our planet was called a snowball Earth because it was totally frozen from pole to pole. Carbon dioxide is a trace gas. It is only 0.04% of the atmosphere. Carbon dioxide is not the villain of the piece we've all been told. It's just food for plants, it's keeping our world green. Please help me stop the nonsense. Please subscribe and like. The word is spreading. Don't be an idiot. What historians will definitely wonder about in future centuries is how deeply flawed logic, obscured by shrewd and unrelenting propaganda, actually enabled a coalition of powerful special interests to convince nearly everyone in the world that CO2 from human industry was a dangerous, planet-destroying toxin. It will be remembered as the greatest mass delusion in the history of the world, that CO2, the life of plants, was considered for a time to be a deadly poison. This is a quote by Richard Lindzen, who is an American atmospheric physicist known for his work in the dynamics of the middle atmosphere.